Alrighty, so we have some Diablo patch notes for the new season coming up. This is kind of the preseason getting into the season, but most of these are going to be changes that are happening before, so you can kind of get used to your classes. So we're going to check it out and see if any of my builds are still the same. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the first thing is we got the new uniques and legendary aspects, which I'm excited to see. So the first thing is we have a new Uber unique staff. These things are like extremely rare drops, like insanely rare. But this one gives you basically a shrine effect for 10 to 20 seconds after killing an elite. It can only occur once every 30 seconds. This one's interesting. I guess it really depends on which shrine sort of buffs you get. So you have the one that makes it to where none of your stuff requires any resources. You have the one that makes it to where you're pretty much invincible, and then you have the one that makes it to where you do like an AOE based attack. You also have the one that makes you turn into lightning. But then you have like greed and then the movement speed increase. So it's like a 2 in 6 chance of getting like a lesser good one, but that's still pretty significantly powerful. So the fact that that could be used, it's a unique staff though. Does that mean like barbarians and stuff can't use it? Interesting one, but this is for general, so maybe. I doubt it though. The big thing is too we have Barbarian, where they have a lucky chance where core skills have a 20% chance to freeze enemies for 3 seconds and deals cold damage to them. I'm assuming this tooltip is lower than what it would actually be in its skills with based off of the level. This one's gonna be good for the Whirlwind build. You could just as you're doing the ticking damage, you have more times to proc to make it happen. So very high chance of that. So yeah, and 20% chance isn't too bad. So freezing enemies, keeping them in place. I'm curious to see how that works with elites. If elites will still have that inherent barrier to where it doesn't trigger as often. Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see how that plays out. The other one is Flesh Render. Makes it to where Deliberating Roar and Bloodhowl deal additional damage to poisoned enemies. So this one pretty much partners up with Toxic Creeper. It also will make it to where it's really good for a werewolf build because werewolf has so many different poison based attacks that you can do. So that just makes it to where they just do it more inherent damage. So if you had Flesh Render, I'd probably go with more of a werewolf build with that. Necromancer. Okay, so this one's a unique shield. It makes it to where when you activate Bone Storm, hitting an enemy outside of Bone Storm has a 5 to 25% chance to spawn an additional Bone Storm. For each of your sacrifice bonuses, this increases by 25% and the additional total number of bone storms by +1. So basically, if you sacrifice all your minions like I do in my Blood Knight build, I can potentially get 4, almost 5 bone storms out of that just alone. Oh, sorry, loud motorcycle outside. But yeah, no, that's pretty significant. So my build just got inherently stronger. I'm glad that I switched out my ultimate ability, and I'll definitely have to try to get this lidless wall. It's a unique shield, but if I can get that to drop, hell yeah, I'll be good. Rogue. Okay, we got a bow. Bow builds really need a significant buff because right now, if you do like a bow build on like a rogue, you're kind of almost memeing, and they just need like a little bump up. So I'm excited to see what this one does. Penetrating shot has a 30 to 80% chance to fire an arrow that bounces around the scenery. Hitting an enemy from behind with penetrating arrow will make him vulnerable for 3 seconds. Exactly what we need. That is a very good bow there. That is going to be very powerful for jumping into kind of like a bow rogue build. Let's see, Oculus has a chance to give you the teleport enchant, basically that teleport ability where when you evade, you kind of teleport around. So, okay. It's not a bad one. I mean, there's better ones out there, but gives you that nice little like freedom of being able to escape. Because I don't think sorcerers have many unstoppable based abilities to break out of CCs or dodge out of attacks. So that's kind of significant to have to where it doesn't take up any additional slots or spell slots. Let's see, new legendary aspects. We have it right now to where if you have 5 close enemies, you stun them for up to 2 to 4 seconds. This can occur every 20 seconds. That's pretty good. That actually that's definitely one of the big things out there because especially in World Tier 4, if you get swarmed with enemies and you aren't really prepared for it, that kind of gives you a little bit more of a time to adjust. This is going to be specifically good for I think the sorcerer and if you do the bow rogue, so that's going to be nice. In addition to that, let's see, you got it. We have increased movement speed when doing slowed and chilled enemies. That could be used for the freezing bow build, possibly. I don't really see too many things out there. Again, mainly for sorcerer and rogue, I guess, would be the main thing for that. This one's interesting though. Ancestral Charge. Charge calls for 4 ancients that will also charge, dealing additional damage. That's nice. Druid. Poison Creeper activates Landslide and makes it to where Earth skills deal more damage to poisoned enemies. That is a game changer because that can make you potentially change your whole build around to where you could do like a poison based Earth sort of werewolf build. You could do a variety of different skills with that. So that one's pretty interesting as well. Gore Quills, I'm telling you right now, I'm calling it now. Bloodlance probably gets nerfed a little bit later on, but it makes it to where Bloodlance will consume the blood orbs and also conjure additional blood lances, making it to where they deal 20 to 50% more damage and prioritizes non-lanced enemies. Okay, so making it to where Bloodlance has just a little bit more power. There's a lot of aspects that partner up with it, so I'm assuming they got nerfed a little bit with this one. Otherwise, this one's going to be very powerful. It might even take out the Bone Spear build. Let's see. Pestilent points. Every third cast of Puncture is the poison imbued for... Okay. All right, that one's pretty interesting. That makes it to where it has like a large amount of potency and makes it to where Puncture can even do more of a poison-based build. Searing Winds, it makes it to where after spending 200 to 100 mana, your next Firewall is free. I'm calling it now. They're going to buff up Firewall a bunch because fire builds right now haven't been really utilized. There's a bunch of bug fixes. Most of them I already read through. They didn't really do anything significant. There was like a few little fixes here and there that were interesting, but nothing really too out of the normal there. So we're probably just going to skip over most of them. All right. Loading screen updates just makes it to where they added more dynamic loading screens with the release of the new season. It also includes aspects of the new stuff, basically around your character. I'm cool with it. Makes it to where it's not the same loading screen like 5 times in a row. So, cheers to that. Gameplay updates. Altars of Lilith are now account-wide. Map discovery is now account-wide, so that's good. So you don't have to try to refill the entire map all over again anymore. Whispers no longer give sigil dust. Overall loot quality has been increased from silent chests. Good, because silent chests were kind of garbage. They weren't really doing much. And like a lot of times I'd like open them up and then it's just be like garbage. So, channel time from leave dungeon has been reduced. So that makes it to where it's faster to where you can keep dungeon spamming. That's good. General tendency for mini monsters to move around in combat, so melee characters don't have to chase them down as much. Good. Succubus enemies were kind of annoying. I was trying to do that with my Barbarian build recently, and I kind of had to keep doing Lunging Strike because any other of the basically basic skill abilities, I was just kind of running around chasing after them, and those enemies were so annoying. So that's kind of good to have there. They did some renown adjustments that are really good. They made it to where side quests now give more, and dungeons give more. And that's going to be really big for the new season because our renown is going to completely reset. Altars of Lilith will be there, but the renown will have to be completely reset. So having it to where we have these bonuses to where it's not so annoying grinding it back over is very good. And redoing the side quest was kind of obsolete. So having it to where it has that 10 is pretty significant, all things considered. They added some other things too. They added it to where we get more bonus gold and monsters drop more items in World Tier 2, which I guess is good. I guess it's to help out with Season 1 to get a lot of those crafting materials and a little bit more stuff just to get yourself prepared for World Tier 3, which I'm okay with. Leveling, scaling, and dungeons and territories have been adjusted for World Tier 3 and 4. Monsters will begin to trail off behind the level. Okay, and then they give some examples. So let's just go ahead and look at the examples instead of reading that giant paragraph. So basically, if you're below 55, all the monsters will be 55. So before you jump into the new world tier, you're going to want to at least be like around level 50 and level 55. This is to prevent people from like being level 40 or whatever and jumping into it. If you're level 56 to 60, they're going to be 55, and then when you hit 61, then they'll be 56. Okay, and so forth. And then same thing with World Tier 4, where they just kind of slowly trail off. Okay, I get you. From here, XP. I'm so glad that they're doing this because XP, like leveling multiple characters, has been such a pain. It's bad. Reward XP from completing Whispers in World Tier 3 and 4 have been significantly increased. Good, because there's kind of like a huge wall when you start getting, I think it's around level 80, where it's like it takes as much as it took for you to level up all the way to 80 for you to get to max level. So that's good. And in addition to that, they made it to where there's some other different bonuses from killing monsters, making it to where they're 15, 20%, and 25%. This is going to be good for Helltide, because Helltide, they're pretty much always higher level than you. So this makes it to where you can do Helltide and get some significant XP bonuses and farming done for where you can level. And then they have it to where postseason it's going to be a lot less. That's okay. They also made it to where you gain XP based off of their offsets. Basically, in general, it's just going to be a lot easier to level and doing a lot of different stuff. Helltide, let's see what Helltide does. Helltide's, their levels are even higher now than the player instead of 2. So that's going to be good, especially with the changes that they just talked about here, where if they're higher than you, you can get 25% more XP. In addition to that, they made it to where the cost of the chest is now 250 instead of 175. So that's because they are also going to make those chests a little bit better. So having it to where it's at 250 is going to be just inherently better. And they made it to where all interactables have a small chance of dropping cinders, so making it to where you have more access to getting cinders to help out with a big cost, and also the fact that it's PvP. Now we get into the real meat and potatoes here. So looking into classes here, we have the good old Barbarian. Curious to see what they're going to do here. So the big thing that I see is double swings getting its duration for its vulnerability increased by 2. That's good because right now I don't know any build that uses double swing at all. Like any sort of dual wielding Barbarian has not been shown to be all that good. So that's good. Furious Upheaval has it where it has a damage bonus from 5 to that. Okay, that's good. Let's see. Charges cooldown reduction has now been capped to 3 targets for a maximum of 9 seconds. Okay. So they got some bonuses for charge-based aspects. Enhanced blood death blows damage to bosses from 100% to 150%. So my one whirlwind build that I included this is going to be buffed. Good. Looking all good on my build so far. Let's see. In Rupture's damage has been increased. Rupture's attack speed bonus has been increased. And its duration by 5 to 5 seconds. Good. Rupture's healing has been increased. Okay. So far, all my builds are going pretty solid. Hamstring now only slows healthy enemies, so rip hamstring. It actually makes it to where the slow amount is increased from that to that, so it slows better, but it only works on healthy enemies. So let's go into Druid, though. Druid is a class that I definitely think needs to get a little bit more buffs on some of its variety of different builds, because right now Pulverize Druid seems to be the only way to go. So the big thing that I'm seeing is that the claw attack is getting a bonus instead of it being 10% to 15%. This is good because right now, out of all the basic skills right now, Storm Strike was like the only one to really go with. So that's good that they are making it to where it does more enhanced attack speed. That could also be really good with some of the poison combos that we're seeing right now. In addition to that, it seems like Storm Strike has been got nerfed from 25 to 15%, which sucks, but at the same time, it kind of needed to happen. It was just becoming too much of the go-to build when jumping into anything Druid related. I really hope, though, that they do some other additional defensive buffs to the Druid. Otherwise, this will make it to where the Druid is less touched as a class. Made it to where boulder damage has been significantly increased. Savage Trample has been... Spirit has been increased. Prime Lacerate Healing has been increased by a good amount. That's good. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Need to get those defensive a little bit more powerful. Cataclysm lightning damage has been increased significantly there. Okay. So we got a whole additional 13% there, and Tornado has been increased. Tornado is an interesting ability. I like it, but it's just too much RNG with its movement. You don't know really how it's going to go. You kind of can follow the pattern, but a lot of times it's like a skill that's unreliable, or it's like one that you can't really use too often. So it's good that they increased the damage on that a lot more. And then they made it to where Cataclysm is getting some significant buffs to make it just a little bit better there. Prime Grizzly Rage now grants Unstoppable, which is good. It should have already, but I don't know why. For 6 seconds instead of while active. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, that's exactly what it needed. I don't know why it didn't have that before. Looks like a slight nerf to Overpower, which was going to happen, obviously. Pulverized Druid was just a little bit too powerful, and it makes it to where it's reduced so that it's just pretty significant amount. Yeah, so it's 24, 20, and 16. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, Druid didn't seem like it changed all that much. I expected a lot more out of it. It is interesting though. One of the things I have to note is that it seems like Blizzard's been trying to buff up a lot of the lightning-based spells, so it seems like they significantly want people to start trying out the lightning builds a little bit more. But Werewolf's also getting a good amount of significant buffs there to where it's getting a little bit more defensives and more things out there. So we'll have to see if they partner up a lot of the skills out there. Let's get into Necromancer. Obviously, my main class, one of my favorites. The big thing though is, let's see, Decompose Slow has been increased by a significant amount. That one's really good for farming and like just overall, like if you're in higher tier content, that one's a really good ability to have. Sever now required for vulnerability has been reduced from 4 to 3. That's good. This is the good one. Enhanced Blood Surge healing has been increased by 0.5% basically. So my blood build just got stronger, which is good. Enhanced blood lance damage reduction for pierced, reducing it from 15 to 10%. Okay, I kind of knew that was going to happen. The damage reduction from piercing is reduced from 15 to 10. I kind of know that there's going to be some changes to Bloodlance. There's a lot of aspects that partner up with it, so the more that they add to Bloodlance's toolkit, the more that you're going to start seeing some minor nerfs and changes along the way, so it's not stupid powerful. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with bone-based abilities here. Let's see. Bone Prison, the initial essence has been gained. Okay. Iron Maiden has its healing increased. Good. Golems are faster and more unhindered from movement, and their cooldowns are active. Okay. Supreme Blood Wave leaves behind blood orbs earlier in its path, because before it was almost at the end of its path it would spawn the blood orbs. Blood Wave still needs an increase in its damage because Bone Storm is just outright better and has so many other additional perks, so I really hope that they do some more with Blood Wave to make it just significantly better with some of these new powers that are going to be coming out. Ray Skeleton, Corpse Explosion, Tendrils, range for auto-targeting has been increased. Okay. Making it to just where they have a lot better. Okay. Raise the damage of and healing of priests pretty much. Okay. Makes sense. Making it to where the zoo builds are a little bit better. Impulsion's damage to vulnerable has been reduced. Okay. This is like some of the little nerfs that you're going to start seeing for the bone build where they're going to start doing that. Healing from the minion has been increased. Drain vitality. Amplified damage has been increased. Okay. Book of the Dead will now automatically resummon after spawning during a boss fight. Okay, that's good. Skeleton Defenders have upgraded the Thorns-based ability. That's good. That was one of the big issues, is that you could do like a Thorns build, kinda Necromancer, but it wasn't. They weren't getting like the as much as like you would really want for it to be viable. So having it increased by 10% is pretty major. Let's see. The attacks required has been reduced for them to get their upgraded attacks for the Shadow Skeletons, because nobody was really doing Shadow Skeletons. They were doing like all the other ones, or they were doing the Reapers. And this one's a really good one though. Iron Golems and attacks required for the slam attack has been reduced from 5 to 4. This makes it to where the Iron Golem will actually get some more use, because I've pretty much only seen the Bone Golem and the Blood Golem. Nobody was really running the Iron too much. So this will make it to where they have a significant more time to do the slam attack and get like a little bit more stuns in there. So you can do some really cool stun-based sort of gameplay, especially with the aspect that we saw earlier that makes it to where they can stun enemies in a group. And then, going into the aspects here, they have it to where Bone Shards have been reduced by a bunch. Okay, so splintering aspect of Bone Shard was like a major aspect for the Bone Spike build, and that's been reduced to 30 to 60%. That's like a 40% nerf pretty much right across the gate there. So that's massive. They made it to where Plunging Darkness has been increased. That's good. And Blood Soaked aspect damage has been increased. Looks like a lot of the other stuff just is increases, but that major one there is just to say, give like a middle finger out to the Bone Spear build. Let's see, Bloodbath Echo. So this is one of the ones that was important with my Blood Surge based build. This has made it to where it has now gotten only like a 10% damage reduction rather than what it was before. Because basically when it pops, it would do like an echo that was at like 70 to 60% less damage. This makes it to where it's only like 50% less damage. So that's great. So Necromancy build, Going strong. I'm so glad I didn't do a Bone Spear build because I knew that that shit was going to get nerfed. I knew it was going to. Let's talk about Rogue, because Rogue is going to be the one that I am wanting to run with Season 1, so we'll see if it actually changes anything. I am predicting that they're going to do minor changes to the stuff to help out with the range-based Rogue toolkit going forward. Let's see, it made it to where rapid fire's duration has been increased from 3 to 5 seconds. They made it where Caltrip's cast speed has been increased by 15%. That's good too. Caltrips is having like a weird thing where it has like iframes from when you basically you jump back, and it was making it to where like you were somewhat getting some damage, but also on top of it, you had just like this long pause in combat doing that ability. So making it to where it's a lot faster is very good and kind of needed for it. It makes it, let's see, enhanced cold imbue hit chance has been increased from 30 to 40%. That's good. That's needed. That is going to be specifically good for the Frozen Archer build, especially the one that I did earlier. So that's going to make it a little bit better there. Enhanced smoke grenades bonus has been increased by a good amount from 15 to 20. This is another one that's good for one of my builds I showed recently where I had the concealment where it makes it to where the next ability automatically crits. This makes it to where you have an extra second basically to kind of run around and set up stuff. And the other one that I was looking at, this one right here, Supreme Death Trap. Everybody was kind of running it in its build. It had its reduction increased from 10 to 12 seconds. So kind of knew that was going to happen there. Passive wise, not too much has changed. It looks like they just increased their overall damage reduction. Aftermath's energy has been restored. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, it just looks like they just did some more stuff to make it to where imbuements are a little bit more powerful. So that's good. Lastly, a Sorcerer. Sorcerer is pretty actually well balanced. I know it's kind of memed on as like one of the lesser good classes out there, but it actually has like a lot of different significant changes to it where it's overall not too bad. It just needs like little buffs and changes here and there, but it's actually super well rounded as a class. It's just right now the ice build's kind of like the only build right now. So I'm predicting that they're going to do a lot of changes to fire and then adding a little bit more to the lightning build. We'll have to see what aspects and things that they bring over to there. But I'm predicting fire is going to be a big one that they're going to buff up, and then just like a minor increase to lightning, and then a little bit of a decrease to overall ice damage. So let's go ahead and take a look. Enhanced charge bolts from 24 to 30%, and now benefits from skill ranks. Yeah, that was a big issue. It wasn't having synergy of a lot of things out there. Destructive bolts reduction has now been increased. Okay, so that's good. That's good. Ice Blade has cast is cleaned up and tightened, so allowing the characters to act after it's cast sooner. That's good because the one issue with Sorcerer is they don't really have a lot of stuff that has Unstoppable or to help them break out of a lot of CCs. So standing in place is not good, obviously, for a class that needs to be constantly moving, leaving spells. Firebolts and damage has been increased a significant amount. Firewall, remember that thing that we were talking about, all those firewall-based synergies? It looks like they're going to be increasing the mana regen, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to Firewall there. Blizzard's cone ability reduction has been okay. Nothing too crazy on this one, actually. Just overall, it looks like a lot of buffs to fire. Fire seems to be like the main theme of the stuff going on here. Okay, so I was worried that they're going to do some significant decreases to the Sorcerer, but they actually ended up just giving them buffs and everything that they needed to make them to where they're an overall well-rounded class. So we might actually see them, instead of being like a D tier and C tier sort of builds, they might actually go up higher. All right, let's talk about general stuff here. So getting into the general stuff here, we have Active Retribution, which increases the damage to reduce. Okay, so yeah, these aspects are just overall getting a little bonuses there. The maximum number of stacks required from 100 to 60, reducing the bonus armor. Okay, so yeah, that's not too bad. I kind of figured not many people ran a lot of these aspects, but when they did, they're pretty decent. But it seems like they've all gotten roughly nerfed. To be expected. The Butcher's Cleaver Slow has been increased. Okay, this is so that you can't just kite him around. Some people were doing it to where they could just run around and kite him all the damn time. This is to prevent that. This is to make it to where you are actually super slowed. Because the Butcher, early levels, was kind of like an absolute monster. But when you started getting into higher levels, you're so built out and you have so many different tools and like different ways to kite him. He was kind of falling over super quickly. So this is a way to balance out around that. So makes sense. I do hope to see the Butcher kind of become more of a threat and more of like a big moment rather than him kind of being like a loot pinata towards the later levels there. They did some drop rate increases, so they increased the drop rate for ancestral and sacred items in Nightmare Dungeons, which they've been doing a lot of different changes to Nightmare Dungeons, making it to where they have better gear and better XP, which is good because that's supposed to be like an in-game system that people want to keep doing rather than just doing traditional dungeon farming. So it's good that they keep adding incentives to do Nightmare Dungeons. They also removed the 20% chance to drop extra equipment from that outside of there. Let's see, removed a 20% chance to drop an extra item from outside of Nightmare Dungeons and Helltide. Okay. That is interesting. Okay, so they're making it to where Outworld content is not as good. Okay, if I'm reading that correctly. Increase the chance to drop extra items from elite monsters in Nightmare and Helltide. Okay, so they're trying to make it to where you're incentivized to really do Nightmare and Helltide. Also, there was weird exploits in the overworld where you could just constantly farm enemies and get like a lot of items. So this is probably their way to counteract that. So good game design. Nightmare Dungeons have now increased 50% chance to drop a second legendary upon completion. So that's good. Yeah, I'm cool with that. I like getting more legendaries. So Nightmare Dungeons are going to be very good now. So it's going to have more reasons to do it, especially with the Battle Pass system coming up. Let's see. Now I'll give 3 rare items on completion up from 1. So basically, they're giving more incentives for doing Nightmare Dungeons because again, nobody was really doing them. Monsters XP has been increased by from 85 to 100% per player in the party. Okay, so this is also good game design because y'all had to ruin it for everybody. Everybody, like all these big streamers, what they would do is you'd find like a relatively easy dungeon with a couple of lanes, and then you would have one party member go right, one go forward, one go left, and they would just absolutely destroy a bunch of enemies and then meet up and then don't kill the boss, return, reset the dungeon, do it all over again. And it was getting to the point where you were just getting so much XP. It was the way to go. It was the way to farm. That's why so many people have like hardcore characters that are like level 100, but hardly ever did any like major content or beat any dungeons besides ones for their basic builds. So this is their way of kind of balancing out that and making it to where it's a lot harder and less time efficient for them to go that route, and also makes it to where elites are more powerful and stronger, so it makes it scarier. They also increased it to where the scaling of Greed Shrine, I mean, Greed Shrine was kind of garbage. It makes it to where they drop like more gold and stuff, and it was just like it just wasn't doing anything worthwhile. World bosses drop potions more often. I mean, that's assuming the world bosses are even up half the time. Half the time I run over to them and they're already dead by the time I get to them. And let's see, they also made it to where there's no limit to refine into higher materials. Okay. So yeah, that's interesting. They also made it to where the ability of affixes for different builds include. Let's see, they made it to where controlled impairment duration reduction appears on pants. That's good. That's like one of the things too is you always want to get resistance from crowd control. Crowd control is like the only thing that can kill you. Like the bosses are relatively easier on harder stuff. Like you can do world tier 4 dungeon bosses and they're like kind of a joke. It's the elites that are the scary thing, like the minions, which is interesting. So having crowd control reduction on pants now appear is also really good. Barrier generation now appears for all classes, and it will be dropping later in the game. Barrier is also really good. I love Barrier. Mastery skill damage newly added and can appear on sorcery weapons and identically to core skill damage. Okay. Resistance to all elements will appear on shields. Okay. Resistance isn't working as intended, so I really don't care about that. Resistance is kind of a garbage stat right now because as you get into higher world tiers, they have it to where they are able to get past more and more resistance as you go higher and higher into world tiers. So yeah, okay, cool. I guess it's the way to reduct damage a little bit more. Yeah, so a lot of these are just basically okay. So they're basically just adjusting a lot of the damage to where flat damage is good, but making it to where certain things can't just be like too crazy. Like having it to where crowd controlled damage is reduced because there's so many different things that you can do to make it to where somebody's crowd controlled. But frozen is like a thing that's like a big event. You have to build up to it. So that's what it seems like they're doing with that. Yeah, and then they have it to where summoning skills increased. There's some other ones that are important. Damage reduction from enemies has been reduced because yeah. So basically, anything that's super easy to give sort of like an affix or like a debuff to an enemy has been reduced. But any of the ones that are just like a flat skill increase or take like a level of build up, they made it to where it's increased, such as like traps and like summoning based stuff. Okay, so yeah, in general, it looks like a lot of my predictions were right. A lot of my builds really didn't change. I think the only thing that changed in my builds was Stormstrike was kind of key for a lot of things, but it got reduced by a little bit. But that's okay. It seems like almost all of the builds I did for preseason 1 are still valid and still good. So that is good. We'll definitely have to check out though for more of what season 1 will have to bring. Overall, I definitely think that these changes are interesting, and this is a relatively longer video, but I want to thank you guys for watching, and I just wanted to kind of give my input on a lot of things out there and diving into season 1. So I hope you guys enjoy. I want to hear in your comments below. Maybe I misspoke or said something wrong, or you have some additional questions or cool things that you want to talk about. Feel free to obviously comment down below, and we can dive in and talk more about the stuff out there. Also, be sure to join in my Discord once season 1 begins. We're going to definitely be running some different groups in there. That link is going to be in the description down below. We'll see how it goes. I'm curious to see how this is going to be happening. I think that for season 1, I'm probably going to be running a rogue, as I've already done Necromancer. Seems like most of my builds are good, and I think we're solid. So, without further ado, I'll see you in hell and see you in season 1.